very good morning, afternoon, evening, and night to everyone watching today. Today, I'm with Ms Mei Sim. Ms Mei Sim, would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay, so my name is Ms Sim Lai, and I'm here today in my capacity as the chair of the British Malaysian Society.
Right. So UKC and BMS have worked very, very closely for many, many years. And I think there's no better person to introduce who or what BMS is than Ms Mei Sim herself. Ms Mei Sim, what is BMS?
So BMS stands for British Malaysian Society, which was founded 42 years ago. It was founded when Tun Mahathir announced buy British last, and the British High Commissioner at the time, Sir Donald Hawley, needed to do something positive as a response to buy British last, and the result was that he set up the British Malaysian Society. So we are a not-for-profit membership organization to promote positive bilateral relations between the UK and Malaysia. So we have 4 pillars of work. One is trade and investment, travel and tourism, culture, and education. Hence the link with UKEC, because we welcome students to our membership. And as part of our corporate social responsibility, we like working and helping students from Malaysia.
Right. And speaking of helping students, I know BMS does a mentorship program, and that was actually how I discovered BMS, because I saw the mentorship program being advertised through UKC channels, and I decided to sign up. At the time, I thought, wow, why was there a price tag associated with this? I thought mentorship was supposed to be free. But luckily enough, I did sign up and was thus exposed to the world of BMS and what they do, and met a very, very wonderful mentor, Dr. Kogi, who taught me a lot about policy work and what it's like to actively advocate for issues within the policy world. So, I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity. And speaking of helping others, why don't you help us all by understanding sort of how you got to this position and how you came into contact with BMS? And, just generally your journey to BMS.
Okay. So my journey in the UK started in 1970. I left Malaysia to come to train as a chartered accountant. And I qualified, I became a partner in the firm where I trained. And through that, I got involved with lots of business groups and also women's groups, because in this world, especially in business, it's who you know can be more important than what you know after a certain level. And therefore, sort of networking came into it. I think those of you who are Cantonese will know the term lo sai gai, which means mixing with the world. And after I became a partner at my firm, I had to do a lot more of that to get to know people, to make the right connections, to help my work, and to help get business for my client. So for many years, I did not get involved with the British Malaysian Society, but then I decided about maybe 14, 15 years ago that it was time for me to join the British Malaysian Society and to give back to the society. And I have been doing that ever since I became the chairman of British Malaysian Society in 2018.
Wow. It's been a very, very long time. In 2018, I was still year 7, so roughly 13 years old.
Yes.
Must have been a very, very interesting time though, being in BMS. So my next question here is, what stood out the most being the chairman as BMS? What did you see that really stood out from, besides being an ordinary member, sort of what else did you gain from being the chairman?
Okay. I think it's tremendous for leadership development. It's tremendous for having the opportunity to promote the society. And then also, as chairman, I had the opportunity to bring together all my experience, all my contacts, all the different ideas to put on a really lively and interesting program for the members. And we have been doing that.
I see, I see. And aside from BMS, is there anything else that you're involved in?
Yes, I am involved with a very long list of activities. So I mentioned women's groups. That was how it started in the city in 1983. I have chaired the top 2 women's groups in the UK. And I'm so currently still on the board of the Arab International Women's Forum, which involves a lot of top ladies in the Middle East. Also, I was involved with public appointments for 21 years, including serving on the board of St. Mary's Hospital in Paddington, being a special trustee of the hospital. I also served on various boards to do with education and race, employment and race, the Ministry of Defense, and then also a very prestigious appointment that I held for 7 years, which was on the Senior Salaries Review Body, because on that body, I and others advised the Prime Minister on the pay of all the 2-star generals upwards, on the pay of all the top civil servants, pay of all the judges in the country. And that was really fascinating.
Wow.
So, and I did the pay of the Prime Minister, the MPs and the Lords. I was on the committee that looked at that on 2 occasions. And then I think in addition to all that, I also became extremely involved with the City of London. And in the City of London, we have the Civic City, which elects the Lord Mayor, all the livery companies, which give away more than 75 million a year to charity and good causes. And I was also involved in the business city because I ran the Institute of Directors in the City of London for 29 years. So through that, I have met a lot of people from all walks of life, and my networking is not just in the city or in London, but I would say it is international. So I've served on international boards as well.
Wow. I mean, the only thing more impressive than that long list of accolades and achievements is probably, the ability to actually remember all of them. I think very, very lengthy list.
And then I also sort of think that I have been very fortunate. I'm from a Chinese Malaysian background, but I have always used that as a positive thing. And it's useful because people remember me, and it's good to sort of be higher profile, because one issue with a lot of people from different backgrounds is that they stay in the background and they just think if they work hard, they do well, they don't break the law, they will be okay. But I think the time has come where all the different groups have to really think more about how they're contributing to society, to charities, and to make the world a better place.
I think that's very, very noble.
Yeah.
And, speaking of making the world a better place, I think it's a very, very interesting idea that, instead of just staying in the background, you want to really put yourself out there and sort of strive to, improve the community you are in, right? So my next question would then be, As a Malaysian student in the UK, especially nowadays, how do you think they can sort of aim to give back to their community, aka Malaysians?
Yes, I think it's important to first of all identify which are the areas that are of interest to you. There are lots of charities that work in those areas. So, for instance, you might be interested in green issues, sustainability issues. So, I, for instance, chair the Television for the Environment, which has been going for 41 years. We use the power of storytelling through films to highlight environmental issues, sustainability issues, and very importantly, possible solutions. So find which areas of interest to you, how can you help, it's what sort of time commitment you're able to give, because nowadays it's part of your development for your future, for your career, to be involved with various societies, to take leadership roles, because I think that is very useful for your CV and also for your own personal development.
Of course, of course. And I mean, speaking from, your side of things, so your own personal experience, which one of these experiences would you say was the most notable or memorable?
Oh, I think I had some very sort of interesting experiences through all the things I've been involved with. So, for instance, I have a tube station that's named after me.
Oh, which one?
Under one of the schemes. So a few years ago in New York, they had this project where they changed all the names of the stations to names of well-known women. So they did the same thing in London to celebrate International Women's Day. It was a project that they were working with Transport for London. And I was approached to have a tube station named after me. So Kingsbridge Station was renamed Mei Sim Lai Station.
Wow.
And I was very delighted because it was alongside a lot of very famous women, some living or dead, that had the stations named after them. So Florence Nightingale, Twiggy, and so on. So I was greatly honored. The other sort of area I've been involved with, and again, it came about through networking, through giving back to society, is that in 2006, I was appointed as one of Her Majesty's representatives in Greater London. And the following year, I was given responsibility for the London Borough of Brent. So in that capacity as a deputy lieutenant, I get to do things which are really great, really sort of greatly honored to be involved. For instance, I deal with all the royal visits if a member of the royal family has to come to Brent, I have to be involved with the arrangements. The first one to greet them and welcome them to the borough, and the last person to bid them farewell and to thank them for visiting the borough. So far this year, I have already done 4 royal visits, and I have another one coming up very shortly. But also, I think the other thing that I'm very proud of is that I am the first Chinese person to be a master of the Watchful Company of World Traders in the City of London. And also, so that's sort of a great honor, and the city has such a long history. So I always believe that if I can do it, so can others, particularly others from Malaysia or Chinese background or other women. So anything is possible if you decide that you want to do it, but obviously luck is important. You happen to be in the right place at the right time, but when the opportunity arises, go for it.
Wow, very, very inspiring words. I mean, I think it's very, very evident that you're clearly very strong, very driven, very motivated to sort of pursue these activities, right? I think the sort of question that's been on the back of my mind is what really drives you to want to do all this, you know? Like, what gets you out of bed? What's your motivation?
Okay. I'm not doing it for money because a lot of my activities are non-paying. So I'm doing it because I'm very interested in meeting people. I'm very interested in helping people and also sort of new ideas. And I do a lot of networking. I'm very keen and happy to connect people if they can help each other.
I see. And do you think that BMS does something similar to that, connecting people?
That's what we are aiming for. I think BMS is for Malaysians and non-Malaysians and anyone that's got an interest in UK-Malaysia relations. So it's important for people to meet each other and to help each other. And then also, I think I mentioned that BMS involved with trade and investment, travel and tourism, culture, and also sort of education. So it's working in all these areas, which can only be good for individuals who belong to the network and also to Malaysia and also to the UK.
That's incredible. I think one of the most common questions or say misconceptions I get about BMS, I'll phrase it more as a question. A lot of people ask, what's the difference between BMS and, for example, the High Commission or, you know, Malaysian societies? Aren't they functionally the same thing? Just joining a club with other Malaysians?
Okay. I think BMS is the preeminent organization for UK Malaysians. What makes it sort of different is that we are open to non-Malaysians as well. The High Commission has a very specific role because it's representing Malaysia in this country. And they are not involved with some of the activities that we are involved with. And then also there are other Malaysian groups, but they may not be as organized as us, or they might only focus, say, on helping students, or they might only focus on eating, makan. So they're dining groups. So I would say that BMS has been going a long time. We have the structure, we have the governance, and we have the activities to provide the services and the activities that people want. So, for instance, we're going to have our second UK Malaysia Film Festival on Monday. We have tomorrow. And that sort of, again, giving Malaysians here and those interested in the Malaysian film industry an opportunity to watch a Malaysian-made film. And I think it's, I'm sort of very keen that it's not just about showing films, but I'm sure there's a lot that the Malaysian film and TV industry can learn from the industry here. And also in that particular sector, there's a lot of technology and so on that young people would be interested in.
I see. Well, this will be going off on a bit of a tangent, but I think after all these years of being in the UK, interacting with many, many, many generations of students, what would you say is a general trend? Or, do you see a shift in terms of how students think, how students act? What sort of things are students looking for? Just generally, what changes do you see across the different times of students?
Okay, I think I recently did an event, a charity event, to do with Generation Z or Z if you're British. And I think young people, they look at things differently, and they're very keen to make sure that where they're working and so on have good values, and also they're more into the environment and so on. But I think sort of Malaysian students over here, there is huge pressure to do well, to study hard, to get good results. And then I think, but they have to have the right balance, because it's not all about getting good results. It's also about developing an all-rounded personality, acquiring the different skills, and also networking and making the useful contacts. But also, I think to make the most of the time that you spend in the UK.
Right.
Because when you go back to Malaysia, it might take a while before you can come back. And therefore, do it while you are here. Travel to different places, do various things, new experiences, meet people, new ideas, and then contribute to the society. So I mean, another sort of area that I've been very interested in is obviously helping the Chinese community here. So I co-chair Chinese Welfare Trust, and we've just been doing a project with Dementia UK, because dementia is the number one killer in the UK now.
Oh.
Yeah. And also counseling for people who need help.
Wow, very, very noble.
Yes.
I think you mentioned something interesting in your answer. I think you mentioned, what was it? Making the most out of your time in university. I think everyone wants to make the most of their time in university, right? But I think the problem with that is there's never really a clear cut, you must achieve this in order to have a fulfilling university life. With that, my next question would then be, let's say I magically put you in the shoes of someone coming into university in their first year. Sort of, what would you try to do, or what would you do to, have your successful life?
I think if you sort of, obviously, it's a big change to come from a comfortable background in Malaysia, and then suddenly everything is new. You have to cope with new environments, studying, and making new friends. I think probably what you need to do is not be afraid to ask for help. I think you need to sort of find out what is needed. You hear some horror stories of people, being caught by scams. They rent a place and then find out that there's no, the money's been taken, but there's no flat because it's a scam. So I think the other thing is, obviously you grow up very, very quickly. You have no choice. You have to stand on your own 2 feet. And I think the thing to do is to ask for help if you need it. But I think also for people, they concentrate wholly on the studies. They've got to do that, especially if they're on the scholarship, or the parents have spent a lot of money sending them over here. So I think it would be good to just sit back and just think about what you want to achieve, in the short term, in the longer term? What are the things that you want to do? So by the time you finish your 3 or 4 years here, what is it on your checklist of things to do that you still need to do?
I see. Very, very interesting. I think the sort of next follow-up question I would have is, you definitely have a very, very interesting story and a very interesting profile and background. And, being in so many boards, involved in so many societies, I think the next natural question will only be, how do you get yourself these opportunities to sort of join these societies, to land these boards, and just be involved in so many interesting projects?
I think sort of part of it is being at the right place at the right time, but I think it also it builds one on the other. So if something comes along that fits in with my areas of interest, what I have already been doing, then I would try to go for it. But that doesn't mean that I limit myself. I look at all the opportunities that come along and then go for the ones that I can manage and the ones that challenge me. So I think so. My idea and my philosophy is to look at the opportunities and go for it if you can.
Yeah, no,
Because it's very easy to say I am too busy.
I mean, it is right. I mean, nowadays, anytime you talk to anyone or try to make plans, it's always, I'm too busy, or, I don't have enough time. But you're absolutely right. We do need to make time for ourselves and for other pursuits in life. My next question would be, after doing all these amazing things, what's next? What's next for, the great Ms Mei Sim?
I would still do, I would like to think that I would, obviously interested in leaving a legacy of sort of helping others. Sadly, I lost 3 members of the family in the past 6 years. I had to write the eulogy for 2 of them, and it made me think about what their life was all about. So I know that life is not all about making lots of money, because that does not necessarily make you happy. But if you sort of contributed to society and helped other people along the way, and you have been kind, in return, people will help you back and you receive a lot more.
I see. And what's, one word of advice you'd like to leave for, the future generations or just younger kids nowadays?
I would say you have to work hard and go for it and be kind to others.
I see. I think you've had a very, very impressive profile of, charity work and advocacy that you've been doing. So I wanted to very briefly ask, why charity? Why not focus on, other avenues in life?
I think it's important to give back, and sort of using my skills and my contacts. And obviously, in this country, charities, the sector is so well developed. There are so many opportunities to help others. So the charities I've been involved with, for instance, I started off by being a trustee of Womankind Worldwide, which is sort of helping women in developing countries. For instance, the untouchable women in India, and also helping the farmers, the women farmers in northeast Ghana. So that's a whole range. And also charities to do with my own community. So I mentioned about the Chinese Welfare Trust. And also I was chairman of Mulan Foundation, named after the legendary Hua Mulan, who was a female disguised as a general who rose to the top. And her story is so famous that school children in China still study her story and her poem. So giving back to Chinese women, recognizing the achievements of top Chinese women globally. And we have had, in our awards, we have had 2 winners from Malaysia. So Alexandra Chin was the first Chinese woman and Malaysian woman to become the worldwide president of ACCA. So she got a Mulan Award. And then also Dr. Yvonne Chia, who was the chairman of Standard Chartered. Wow. She has just finished that role. So I think we've got that. And then I mentioned my involvement with City of London. I have been raising money for various charities. For instance, the British Red Cross. Every 2 years, there is a big Christmas market. And I've been on that committee for many years. I have stopped now, but I still support it. I have supported many Lord Mayor's appeals. And then I think the latest thing, which is very exciting, is that I've helped to recruit 700 women to take part in this year's Lord Mayor's Parade. So we are having the 3rd lady in history to be the Lord Mayor this year. And her show is going to be the first ever in history Lady Mayor's show. And we have 7 floats of 100 women in each taking part. There will be an ASEAN float, ASEAN and international float with members of the British Malaysian Society taking part as well. So the show is very prestigious. Over 300 people watch it on the streets, and it's televised by the BBC. So over 2 million viewers.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, and it will be great fun and truly memorable, particularly for the ones who are taking part for the first time. So I've been in about 15 Lord Mayor shows, so it will be great. The first time that I took part, I was in a long Victorian outfit with a bonnet.
Wow, sounds interesting. I can't picture you in that.
Yes.
Of all the charities you've been associated with or worked with, which would you say was the best or most notable charity?
I think it's very difficult to say which is the best, because they are all sort of doing good work, helping people. So I was on the charity called Pan Asian Women's Association, and which helps the education of teenage girls in Asia. And they their projects includes one project in Malaysia. It includes raising money to have 2 house boats in Bangladesh, because when it floods, the girls can continue to have their education because the classes can still continue on the boat. So these are very interesting. I have also been helping some armed forces charities. So each year I raise quite a lot of money, £8,000 or so, for the Army Benevolent Fund, the RAF, and the Royal Navy. This is the Lord Mayor's Big Curry Lunch charity that I've been helping for over 10 years.
I see. And how do you discover these charities? Do people recommend them to you, or do you go out of your way to look for them?
I don't go out of my way to look for them. I suppose I have friends who are involved, and they sort of approach me to ask, would I like to be a trustee? And sometimes I've said yes, and other times I've said not able to fit it in, but I might still donate to the charity.
I see. And as a student, you don't really have, I'd say, the excess cash to give away to charities, especially when you're living on meal deals. So my question here is, if I was a student in university and I was interested in trying to get into charity and giving back to my community, how could I do so without giving my money?
Well, in a way, you can volunteer to help at a charity shop. You can sort of volunteer to feed, the various food banks. I have a couple of friends every Friday night. They're out having serving meals to the people, free meals to the people who need it. And sometimes you may be paid, but the time is worth a lot, and people underestimate that. So you might have expertise. So for instance, if you're very good with social media, you are good with websites, doing flyers, there are lots of charities that can make use of your talents, and that doesn't cost you any money, but at the same time, you are making a useful contribution. And then I think in return, the experience is wonderful for you, to go on your CV that you have done voluntary work, you have been involved with sort of various things. But I think people just think of helping charities means giving money, but it's a lot more than that.
I see. I think a very, very common sentiment I hear nowadays is that charity is something for, when you're retired and rich and have nothing else to do with your money. My question here is, what do you think about this sort of sentiment?
I think that's an old-fashioned approach. I think sort of, also I think it's a cultural thing, particularly with certain communities, that you just think of sort of looking after your family, and you don't think much about helping others. You think if you look after your family, you will be fine. But I think you've got to sort of look out further and help others who need help outside your community. And I think sort of, if you sort of look at every 2 years, every 6 months, we have the honors list in this country to recognize people who have donated and helped the local community. So far, there have been very few Malaysians or people from Chinese community that get the honors, because traditionally they haven't been holding positions, getting involved with the community and giving back. I think that it would be good if that's changed.
Of course. I mean, it really is a shame that not everybody wants to, be involved in the charities. But I mean, for various reasons, right? My question here is, with your very, very diverse background, when was your first taste of charity?
Okay. I think my first charity that I joined was Womankind Worldwide. So they were looking for a trustee that had accounting financial skill, and I happened to have them. So and that was sort of when I was the chairman of City Women's Network. So I said to them, fine, I'm still chairing the network, but when I finish, I will join you. And which is what I did. And joining that charity, doing something a bit different, actually helped me to get my first NHS directorship.
Wow.
Because when I applied to go on the board of St. Mary's Hospital, they asked for what sort of charity experience did I have. and so on. And it was sort of at a time when they're trying to get more women onto boards. Also, people from different ethnic backgrounds. So I, after 3 interviews, I was appointed to the board, and I stayed on board for 8 years. I once had lunch with a headhunter, and he was saying, well, you are female, you are Chinese, so ethnic minority, you have financial skills, and you live locally to the hospital. And he said, and if you were also disabled, you would get all the appointments.
I think another, I'd say, I wouldn't say it's common, but one of the sentiments I've heard about charity is that, especially the form where you're handing out supplies to people in need. So, for example, sending food supplies to hungry people who can't afford food. Many people brand these efforts as, temporary or superficial, and that it doesn't solve the root issue. Do you think that there's still merit to sort of providing aid in these areas, or should we, wholly focus our efforts on trying to address these issues before actually, feeding them?
I think that is sort of that you have the crisis and emergency appeals, so that if people need food and provisions, especially when there's a disaster, that has got to be priority. So you've got to help. But I think sort of there is sort of the longer solution, which is sort of making sure that, education will make a big difference. If people are properly, if they get the education and the skills, then they can try to help themselves. So I think that's sort of the famous saying about, just giving money, or you teach someone, so to teach a fisherman to catch fish, that is sort of having the skills is more lasting than just giving aid all the time. So, but I think education is important, and also obviously government policy. But we are very fortunate in the UK in that, society as a whole gives a lot to charity.
I see.
And I think in certain countries, they are behind. So, for instance, charity shops in the UK have been around a long time, but I know in Malaysia, the network is not as developed.
I see. Well, I mean, unfortunately, in the interest of time, we'll have to, step a little bit back from this grand talk that we're having about charity, and, maybe learn a little bit more about yourself, since we're here together today. I think it'll be not a nice segue, but I'd like to just jump straight in, to find out a little bit more about you, right? In your time in the UK, what has been your favorite part of, residing here?
I think it's the culture here, the traditions. I mean, I'm heavily involved with the City of London because I enjoy the traditions. I think there's a sense of fairness, and I think that sort of the opportunities that are open to all. And I think a lot of the things I have been able to do and so on is because the opportunities were presented to me.
I see. And, do you miss Malaysia at all?
Yes and no, because I've lived here for 55 years.
Wow.
But I still have a lot of family in Malaysia. So I come from a family of 10. But I keep in touch. I think WhatsApp is wonderful because we have a family WhatsApp, and we share photographs, we share stories. So I think the communication is so much easier and better now here.
I see.
Yeah.
If you could
I mean, I
sum up,
miss
oh yes,
Malaysian food. Although I would say in London now there are some very good Malaysian restaurants.
I see. And just to end things on a nice note, if you could give one final piece of advice for our lovely listeners and viewers today, what would it be?
I would say life is too short. You should and life is a journey, so you should do whatever you want to do to enrich your life, to help others, to spend more time with friends and family.
Thank you so much. And I think that's all the time we have for today. We'll send you the recording after this episode is done. And similarly, when you're done watching this episode, please share this to your friends and family. Would you like to say goodbye to the viewers and listeners?
Yes, goodbye, and I wish everyone all the very best in all that they would like to do and would like to achieve.